It's September 26, 1963. The circus is in town. The entire town's here. Everyone's excited. Kids are smiling. The evening's about to wrap up when Little Rajee, a 12-year-old female elephant from India, is ready to deliver her final performance. Well, that was the plan, but it didn't quite turn out that way. So as evening rolls in, Little Rajee is ready to deliver her final performance of the evening. Only something spooks her and she breaks free from her handler, Bill Pratt. At that point, she runs out of the carnival tent and she runs into Arlen's discount store, which I believe was back in this corner, but I do believe also that all of this has been built since 1963. So I don't believe any of this was originally here, but I do believe that Arlen's was back here in this right corner. Now, Little Rajee goes in to Arlen's. She busts through the front double doors. She spends about 15 minutes in the store, just browsing around. She went in the men's section. She went in the discount section. However, at this point, from the panic, the store alarm goes off. When the store alarm goes off, it terrifies Little Rajee. She doesn't know what's going on. She's scared. All these people are yelling and running. So she busts back out through the front doors and takes off in that direction. So Little Rajee breaks free and runs from Logan Square, which is in this direction right here. And then she travels down Holmes, which is where we're going right now. So the elephant would be running in full speed at this point, right along this path right here. Little Rajee would have continued coming in this direction, right down Holmes Road. All the while, here at Everett High School, there is a varsity football game going on with hundreds and hundreds of fans and teenagers in the stands. Well, inevitably, they see a big elephant run by in that direction. Naturally, their first instinct is to chase it. And that's where things got worse. So Little Rajee continues down Holmes Road. However, once he passes Everett High School, all of those people in the stands start to come out. They get in their cars and they start to give chase. They also give chase on foot. Before you know it, there's hundreds of people chasing a giant elephant down this road in the middle of the street. Now, I'm sure a lot has changed since 1963, but right here is where Little Rajee would have made a right turn onto Cedar Street with a mob of about 300 people behind her. The further down she runs, the more people hear about this, and the more they come out to try and chase her down. So from Cedar Street, Little Rajee makes a left right here at Kavanaugh, East Kavanaugh Road. Now it's at this point that she's heading into actual neighborhoods, so the concern for the safety of the community is even more of a high right now. So she comes down this road right here, East Kavanaugh, and it's at this point that the police start to get involved. They're trying to find out where she's at. They're trying to give chase. And there's also a big mob of people who are starting to gather more and more and more. At this point, she's getting more and more scared, so she's starting to run through yards, through backyards, and she's popping in and out of different streets in this exact area. All the while, a crowd of almost close to 4,000 is going to be in the area trying to find or I'm not sure what they were going to do. I really never understood why all those people were chasing her. This was Mr. and Mrs. Detweiler's home right here at 300 Fenton Avenue. Mr. Detweiler was out here in the front doing some yard work when he saw the elephant come up to his yard, and he yelled to his wife, "Elephant's here!" And the elephant went back through this way and trampled through some type of fencing that they had here, which I believe would be on the outer side of their backyard, right along the sidewalk, which looks like it's no longer here. But yeah, Little Rajee destroyed pretty much their entire yard right here in 1963. So as the gigantic elephant is making its way through people's yards, the police are going through with the bullhorn, asking folks that are chasing the elephant to please back off because they're making it worse. And they're also asking residents to stay in their homes. That way, the elephant is not even more spooked. But unfortunately for everybody, the general public completely ignores the police's orders, and they continue to taunt the elephant and chase it. So as the elephant comes down Mason Street here, East Mason Street, Asa Scheidel, age 67, who lives right here at 314 East Mason, comes out of his home to see what's going on when all of a sudden this giant elephant comes between his house and his neighbor's house, and it actually tramples him. The giant elephant stomped on his sternum and ended up breaking his pelvis, and Mr. Scheidel, again, who was 67, almost lost his life. He was in ICU and was in a coma for quite a while. He almost lost his life due to that incident. His neighbor actually was credited with saving his life because he came over from across the street and tried to scare or shoo Rajee away, which actually worked, which probably did save Mr. Scheidel's life. So for a period of time, the elephant goes into this wooded area, which I believe is still the same wooded area that it would have been back in 63, right by the high school here, which obviously the high school is newer, but it's in the same location as it was back in 63. But Rajee found some shelter in these woods right here, and the general public actually found her and rushed her out. And at that point, she came down to this location, which, unbeknownst to her, would be pretty close to the end of her life. The police catch up with her right about at this point, and the general public chasing her is not far behind. She makes a left here on Fenton Street and gets to right around where this pole is right here. The second pole, the telephone pole, right about here where this driveway is. When police open fire, they unload 6 to 8 rounds in her, and she starts to fall to the ground. And then a neighbor comes out and unloads over 30 rounds into her, which was what did her in. Now I'll take you back around and give you a better view of where she actually lost her life. So 116 Fenton Street is where Little Rajee lost her life. Right here in this driveway. Right here at the end. And the police were actually up in the driveway by those poles shooting in this direction at her when she went down. And she died right there in that location. At this point, the general public had caught up, and all of the kids from the game were shouting at the police, calling them murderers, murderers. And the handler had showed up also at that time and collapsed his head into his hands on the trunk of the police car and started crying and started yelling at the kids that were chasing, saying, "If you had only listened and obeyed the law, I could have restrained her and we could have saved her life. Now I have a dead elephant on my hands, all because nobody followed the law or listened to me." What a shame. So not too long after Little Rajee was declared dead, they brought in a tow truck to essentially pull her from the driveway into the road and then hoist her up onto a flatbed semi, where they took her back to Logan Square, and the circus had to then find out how to dispose of her carcass. And I did not read how that happened or turned out. So what do you think of this story? Pretty crazy from 1963. Could you imagine coming out of your house and seeing a several thousand-pound animal charging at you? That's not something you see every day. So back in 63, that was probably something that was pretty crazy, especially for a small neighborhood like this. And she could have did a lot more damage than she did. I kind of see both sides of it. I mean, wild animals, sometimes you just can't tame them. It doesn't matter, you know, if you're their handler or trainer, they're sometimes just going to do what they're going to do. And again, this would be the woods where she hid out for about 15 minutes before everybody found her. And this is the school here. Again, over to the right, there was a varsity or junior varsity football game going on, and the stands were packed. Lots of teenagers, lots of parents, and once they saw that elephant run by, they took off, most on foot, and some in their cars, and they did more damage than they did good. One of the teenagers who admittedly chased Little Rajee and was throwing things at her, like garbage and cans and things like that, later gave an interview to a news outlet stating that he was very remorseful, and he said that if everybody just would have stayed put, he believes that this could have ended differently. But he was very remorseful and felt bad that the elephant lost its life. Yeah, crazy story out of Lansing, Michigan from 1963. Have you heard of this story? What do you think? Tell me about it in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.